And we're live. It is Champ Chat, episode 8. This week we're going to be talking about a double whammy champion. We've had a couple of those the past couple of years. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a camera, so you got to look at my face while I talk to him today. We have Kennie Pena joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jason.
Anytime, Kenny. I had a chance to actually meet him at the Canadian Nationals, which is one of the 2 major tournaments he's won this year, along with a pair of ROCs that a lot of people haven't been talking about. But we'll get into that in a second. But first, all our guests, they have to start with their origin story. Kenny, where are your beginnings in Heroclix? How long have you been playing? What was your first set? That kind of stuff.
Okay. I've been playing for about almost 5 years, 4.5 years or so. My first set that I started collecting was Marvel Web of Spider-Man. That's pretty much where it all began. What was the other question? Where it began and
just how long you've been playing, and other major tournaments other than the past the ROCs and the Nationals this year.
My first competitive tournament, I guess, would be DexCon 2012, which was 30 minutes away from my house. I was like, why not? Let's go.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting second place there. I actually lost to Derek Thompson, the fellow I beat in U.S. Nationals, and from there we kind of became friends, rivals, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So and so started playing around 2010, late 2010, competitively, 2012.
Cool. Excellent. Yeah, myself, I've only had like the past year to actually get into any competitive tournaments. They've only started getting a little closer to my place. So, but let's talk about, let's start with the ROCs that you've won this year. You won 2 of them, both in the no tactics format, if I remember correctly.
I entered 3 no tactics ROCs this year. 1 was a regular qualifier, 2 were super qualifiers. So I won the Catskill qualifier and super qualifier. I also won the New Hampshire, which was the last no tactics tournament. The Manchester, New Hampshire, the Double Midnight Comics and Games, I believe it's called.
Excellent. So let's go. Let's start with the first major, the U.S. Nationals. Practicing, prepping for that. Where did you come up with your team idea? Was it kind of a off the cuff idea, or?
No, I played Dupe last year at Worlds as well, so I was familiar with him. And I ended up placing 12th. My friend ended up placing 7th. My teammate Kenji did a little bit better, and we I still thought there was opportunity there. So new year comes in, new figures are coming in. I'm building teams, some teams without Dupe, whatnot. And then I started looking at him. Gluttony came out with Trinity War, and I was like, this is a fun idea. Why don't we try 2 characters that most of the time are only going to take 1 damage a pop? And I kept on running with it, trying to figure out which resource was best, which entities would be the best to complement it. And pretty much about a week before the tournament, maybe a little bit more, is when I finally finalized it and started actually playtesting it.
Okay, very cool. Now, my understanding and the stories I've heard is that Sealed wasn't as smooth for you for the U.S. Nationals as it could have been.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
That's okay. The Sealed qualifiers. I heard that there wasn't a walk-in for you. The first one you had trouble getting in.
Those were brutal. Both Sealed qualifiers, my pulls were less than stellar. The first Sealed qualifier, I think my team was a full-power Daxamite, Element Woman, and Cosmic Boy. That's what I ran with. And
okay.
And it's not terrible.
No.
It's just not, when you go up against like Supermass, Martian Manhunters, and all the like, it's lacking. I ended up going 2-2 with that team. The second qualifier, once I pulled my team, I actually just messaged my friends. I'm like, hey guys, I don't think it's happening. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it. The team I ended up running with in the second qualifier that I went 4-0 with was John Constantine, Shadowlass, Toyman with a teddy bear, and a science police officer.
And now you went 4-0 with that team, but you didn't have as much success with the Daxamite.
Correct. Apparently, I don't like move and attack.
Yeah, who knows? So now in the top 32 of the U.S. Nationals, were there any games that had you kind of nervous, a little worried about how you're going to do success-wise?
The first in the top 16, I can't remember his name. I feel bad, but he ended up playing an orange battery with 3 characters, 3 entities on them. I think it was a Despodara. We like to call it bird flu. Adara
I like that.
Yeah, bird flu. Adara looks like a bird, and Despodara is a virus. Engineer with Ion, just for willpower, all that stuff. It's pretty common. And Captain Marvel with Ophidian, the Prime Captain Marvel. So he's got skyrocket defenses, taking away some powers of mine. So he didn't move either. I pretty much approached him. So I hammered up. I went up to him, dealt with all the Captain Marvel nonsense. He almost got my gluttony down to his last click, but I rolled a 6 on regen. And I was like, oh, well, good for me. And the rolls started coming. When I needed to hit 22, 23 defense, I started rolling 9s, 10s. And I was eventually, that was a tough one. I knew as soon as I sat down next to it and I saw that team, I was just like, ugh, this is going to be rough. This is going to be rough. That was one of the tougher ones, yeah.
Absolutely. And you came out on top, which is, of course, amazing. And I got a chance to see the video of the game with Derek. So apparently a lot of people weren't quite sure how solo adventure was supposed to work with the team bases, eh?
I did.
Derek, I noticed.
Derek, I don't know if he just made a mistake. It happens,
Yeah.
He got ahead of himself. I saw how he usually plays in other matches, so I saw maybe, I can link how he got confused. He normally wants, let me not speak for him, but I've seen him do other combinations with, popping up Dock off scroll and something else. So maybe, he saw that that's not going to work because flurry, not flurry, but I'm only taking 1 damage at a time.
Yeah.
So I guess he wanted scroll and Dock and be like, I'll call flurry with both of them. And that's 4 attacks, try to kill dupe. And, simple thing like that. You forget about the 300-point limit. And, I called him out on it. And, he didn't get mad or anything. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Sometimes the rules just are the rules.
I've made mistakes too in games, and people call me out, and sometimes they don't, and I have to read it on realms. But it is what it is.
That place can get a little insane with that. So fresh off your victory there, you decided to come north of the border to Canada and try your hand at our nationals. So what was your experience like there? I didn't get a chance to sit across the table from you in any of my games, so I guess that's what happens when you're not doing so well in the qualifiers. So what was your experience like there?
I enjoyed Canada a lot. I actually planned for it before U.S. Nationals, so I was going no matter what, had I won or lost. But Canada was good. Store was small, but other than that, everyone was super friendly. Tournaments ran late, but it was still pretty organized. I have nothing poor or bad to say about it. The teams that I played, they had 2 weeks to see my team just in case I did play, which, I ended up doing. Yeah. And they were a little bit better prepared. Some of my matches, qualifiers and in the top 32. It was a lot of fun. It was interesting.
Yep. Now, going through the top 32 when you were playing, you actually had a chance to play against the Jenny Sparks team, which a lot of people are saying is the team to beat your team, or Jenny Sparks is the character to beat your team, and you still managed to pull it off. So how about taking us through that matchup?
Yeah, definitely on paper you see that matchup, and it looks really good in Jenny's favor. So this was a semifinal match, top 4.
Yep.
And he won map roll. He has a +4 theme. I wasn't expecting to win map roll. The map that was already down was the Brazil map from, I want to say, ABX.
Yeah, it was one of the Brazil was Fear Itself.
Brazil, yeah, okay, Brazil was Fear Itself, and pretty flat map. Nothing too much going on terrain-wise. Not that much blocking terrain, except for a little 3x3 grid, 9 squares, somewhere near the middle of subterranean level. So everything's level 2. That little 3x3 grid is level 1.
Right.
So when he won map choice, he was like, "Hey, this map looks good. Let's just play here." So that's the first thing I noticed. So I picked the side closest to that, knowing that if I had any shot, my team needed to get in there.
Right.
So I did. He catapulted Jenny out and opted to not single target Gluttony and just went for the pulse wave to hit both dupe and Gluttony.
Oh.
I could understand why. You know, do 1 damage next turn, push, do the 4, knock out Gluttony.
Right.
In my mind, I'm like, okay, that's what he's planning to do. So he had the decoy on Jenny. I knew my dude had to get in there and get his hands dirty. So I go ahead and charge. I call probability control on Gluttony, and my dice didn't like me at that point because I rolled 2 straight 3s and I missed. But at least I based Jenny. I'm like, okay, well, you know, if he wants a single target shot, he's going to have to roll for break. I got a prob on my side. Let's see how it plays out. So he just opted for the pulse wave again. Just instead of rolling for break, one more time, I can see why he would do that to safer play. But he misses my dupe. He hits Gluttony, but misses my dupe with the pulse wave. But doesn't matter because as I free action Quake, he hits shape change. So I was very annoyed. So he has to clear Jenny. His team, the rest of his team's coming in, and they're taking shots at Dupe and missing, and I'm getting a little lucky with that. So finally, Dupe is actioned out. Gluttony, I opted to clear him the turn before. I sidestep in front of. I put Greythos Hammer on him to ignore pretty much character's terrain. I got in front of him. Yep. Jenny's right on the border of the elevation. Gluttony's on click 3, exploit weakness. All his powers are active. So if I hit this, you know, constructs are gone. He has shape change. He has super senses. I hit through all of it. I rolled knockback. I rolled double 4s. Jenny takes 3 exploit. Jenny falls in the pit, takes 2 extra.
Oh,
and
no.
pretty much at that point, the game was over.
Yeah.
And so it was a rough start with all the shape changes and the matchup in his favor. But the one chance I had was the map that he chose. I hit in the little pit, and I made the most of it.
Yeah, and that's one of those situations you got to make most of the situations that you can have with regards to that. So you came out on top of that tournament. Now, when you got to look at the top 8 teams, was there any team that you're kind of glad that you didn't have to suffer through or face up against in your trip up to the top?
You know, out of all the teams, it was that team, and I ended up facing it. So that was definitely. I know there was another Jenny Sparks team. I think it was just at Tomar too. But against my team, more characters, more attackers, the better your chances of beating my team. So definitely that one semifinal match was the, if I had to avoid, would be the one to avoid. I didn't, but thankfully I won.
Right. Now, one of the things that a lot of people talk about is how you actually went to both tournaments with the same team. And a lot of people have been talking about trying to figure out the strategy to beat that team. Now, if you were, I just want to hypothetically put this out there. If you were to play against your team, would you, and you knew your team was coming, would you plan more or less to play around it, make sure your team has the ability to play against it, or would you try to make sure that you always have one character that can hard counter the team?
How do I answer that? There's no real.
Without giving away too much, if you're going to be playing it again at Worlds.
No, it's not even that. It's just it's a difficult question to answer. I feel like I created a kind of a monster team here. It's not unbeatable by any means. It definitely can't be beat. I guess if it wasn't me and I had to plan around it, I would. The Jenny Sparks team was the way to go. You want multiple attackers. You want to focus fire on one person, get rid of them, because there's so much healing opportunity there. Opposing Gluttonies really hurt my team. There's no lie about it, because once you're within 5, I can't heal. I can't use Angriers. I can't flow of life. I can't do anything. Luckily for me, I didn't see any of that. And it's no secret. I mean, people know that. They just didn't play it or didn't have a team. There's a lot of different individual characters, game elements that work well against my team. Putting them on a team that can handle other threats, I guess, is what the difficulty other people are having. You can't counter everything. So to answer your question, though, the best way I would go about it would be how my opponent did. Just as many attackers as possible, maybe one character, 2 characters with an element that has an advantage over it, and try to handle everything else that may be thrown my way that's not that team.
All right. Excellent. All right. So now we've had a chance to talk about things going on. Let's look to the future. With regards, let's start with the announcement that WizKids actually just made this week, where they're sticking to July for the Modern Age shift, where they're going to make all their cuts still in July, which for one gives Wolverine and the X-Men a little I figured in my head I have Wolverine and the X-Men on the bubble. It's either going to be the last set or the oldest set allowed in or the newest set cut. And it gets that little bit of extra longevity. So with Avengers Assemble on the way and everything from Marvel 10th and DC 10th still in, do you think there's still a lot of things that haven't been tried that are still potent, or is what we've seen pretty much what we're going to expect?
No, there's definitely things that haven't been tried that are still potent. I was a little disappointed with the announcement. I was hoping that sets would retire, but it is what it is. There's still a lot of things. I know. I think his name is John Schultz. He played the Justice League team base and trying the whole merge split combo with Wonder Woman, Superman and Wonder Woman, which is fantastic. You get a 300-point team base, you get a 250-point secondary attacker, if you want to call it that, and an opportunity for 4 different attacks. That just seems brutal. So the team, that would have been cut out had retirement gone according to plan, because that's in Teen Titans. So that's a perfect example just to show you that there's still things, and it's been played before. People know the Justice League team base, but things still work. Older figures are still relevant. Maybe not all of them, but there's still some gems hidden in there that people have played that are going to bring out again, or we'll see some new things.
Okay. Now, have you had a chance to try out any of the usable ID cards that have been shown with the cons? I've had a chance to fool around with ShangChi and Daredevil myself, and I played a little bit of Golden Age with the Ares. Do you think they're going to be they're going to be making an effect on the upcoming Worlds?
Unfortunately, no. I have not messed around with the ID cards yet. Do I think they're going to come into play? The 3 that we got currently, I'm leaning towards no. We got 15 more ID cards coming on the way. That's a different story. Who knows what figures and characters come out with that? And I think the resource table comes out June or end of May.
Maybe. Yeah, I feel like it's going to come out like when you're at Worlds.
I don't know if it comes out. Depending on the release schedule, who knows? It might be able to sneak in because it's going to be more than 7 days. But the 3 cards that we currently have, obviously Ares is not going to be in it. Well, that's not true because we have the new set coming out. But I don't know. I like them. I don't know if there's they're awkward. It's a power action. You have to be more or equal points to get something else. I know there's some benefit to it. I don't know if people are going to have enough time to experiment and make it work. That's just my take on it. I'm not trying to bash them or anything like that. I think people are just going to kind of play with what they know at the moment and just accept the new set as it is.
All I can say is that in the experience that I've had with it thus far, the ShangChi is the scary thing to come out all of a sudden. Right? Just when you think you have that close combat bonus against your a ranged team, then ShangChi shows up out of nowhere, and it's like, wait, what? So, and he's got really reasonable stats on his top dial, which is what you bring him in at. So that's been my. And I've only played really a fun game with it because I've just been with my friends. I've been playing a new con exclusive every time I play against them. So
that's always fun.
Just been trying the new stuff. And the weird definitely fits his name.
Yeah, when he got previewed, it was weird. It was kind of weird just trying to figure him out. So yeah.
Are you much of a comic fan? Like, is it the comics that brought you into this game, or was it the game itself that kind of got you into Heroclix?
It was more about the comics. I used to play Versus System before anything else, and that died out. Obviously, we all know the story with that. And my venue used to have Heroclix, and I would see it. Never really took the time to go explore it further. So I would just go play Versus. So when that died out, I had no hobby. I'm a man without a hobby. It was a sad time. My friend got into Heroclix. He lived in Florida, moved to Jersey. He was like, "Hey man, I'll teach you," and that's pretty much how it all happened. I was like, "I like comics," and then he explained the things to me. I'm like, "Oh, it's kind of like chess a little bit," and I like chess. I put the two together, and that was it. I got hooked.
Excellent. Yeah. I myself, I also used to play the Versus System. I used to travel along in the slim hopes of trying to get in that illustrious pro circuit. It always dodged me. I was always on the bubble, but I feel you. I actually started playing Heroclix myself prior to playing Versus because I think they came out just beforehand. So That's just kind of my kind. I like you and Patrick Yaboko both versus alumni. So
yes,
maybe
I wasn't. Go ahead. No, I was just saying I wasn't too competitive with it. I played more locally, but yeah, I remember Patrick saying that before about versus. It's just a link there, the game died out. It's similar. Marvel, if you like it all, it just made sense, the transition.
Yeah. I'd say versus made Heroclix champions, but I'm still not there yet. So I'm working on it. I just got to work on this whole sleep before the tournament thing.
That's important. That's important.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I asked Patricia this last year, but I'm going to ask you this year. With the live stream that was going on with the game, did you feel under the microscope? Did you feel nervous? Did it affect the way you played when you were being streamed live?
No, not really. The camera doesn't really bother me. So I mean, I was on the camera twice up in Canada. I know it bothers others. People get racked up about it a little bit. But honestly, it didn't bother me at all.
Yeah. And I had the pleasure of being under there 3 times, but here we are on my YouTube channel. So I felt more for my opponents than I did for me. In fact, I actually asked him, "Can I play under the camera all my games?" Because I had 3 games under the camera and 3 wins under the camera. So
yeah, that was a secret right there.
That's it. Give me all the games under the camera so that I can go qualify and get some sleep. So I'm going to shift into a first batch of questions while things are kind of warming up here.
All right.
So first one comes from Adam Wilfong. When you're prepping your team for both nationals events, what opposing team or power combinations were you worried about seeing across the board?
It's Super Scroll Lydia. I mean, that's what everyone was going to be expecting, the Orange Battery. Orange Battery, Super Scroll Lydia. My team definitely put some practice into that team with all our different teams that we play tested. So that was definitely the #1 threat. We did kind of mess around with zombies a bit. I didn't think we would see that many, and I was wrong about that. There was plenty in the U.S. I know they tried in Canada as well, but unfortunately they didn't make the top cut. So that one was not too surprising, but a little surprising. We thought we would see 1 or 2. We saw a lot.
Right. And now you're part of one of the Heroclix teams that's coming up and about. I believe it was Team. Are you part of Team Pusheen? Or did I?
No, you got it right. Team Pusheen, little adorable fat cat.
Now, who's on that team, and is that your group that you practice with regularly?
That is the group I practice with regularly. It's a local group. Most of those players are from my local venue, which is Highlander Games and Comics, Boonton, New Jersey. Best place for Heroclix in New Jersey. Who's on there? So you actually met one of them. Jason Keem. He came in 5th in Canada. Yes, the one with the cowboy hat. He's one of them. He
walk to each other.
Yeah. Other people that went to the U.S. Kenji Kaneshiro. I know he got 7th in Worlds last year. Brian Santana is a young and upcoming one. He got 6th in Nationals last year. He was the one playing the attack mode Sentinel that caught everyone kind of by surprise.
Yeah, I remember looking at that one.
Yeah, so and others you may or not know: Bradley Wilson, Ted Jasek, Abdul Manakram. Man, I'm forgetting my teammates' names, but yeah, more or less, and a few others. I'm sorry, guys, I forgot your names.
It sounds like a sizable team.
12 members at the moment.
12 members at the moment. That is a hefty team.
Yeah.
Do you guys get together often to do practice? And how do you format it? Do you have a couple guys playing what you expect to see, and everybody trying their new teams, or?
We give and take. Yes and no. Sometimes we do that. Sometimes we just play what we want to play. So at my venue, we have like a casual night Tuesdays. Anyone can come. We try to keep it simple, teach new people how to play, and sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. And it's more like a learning experience, and just to get out of the house and have fun. Right. We do a Supremacy League, not the way it's supposed to be run, but it's kind of like a bi-weekly every other Saturday at the store. We're a little bit more competitive, a little bit more, you know, every month there's a new OP kit coming out, you know, the Brotherhood one, Superman enemies and stuff like that. So we put that as a prize. Like, you know, if you win the whole month, you know, you get the whole set of 3, you know, and these figures have been pretty good. So it's something worth playing for. So that's where we go and on Saturdays, try out new teams, try out new ideas. If necessary, if there's a tournament coming up, we try to schedule. It's impossible to get all 12 at the same time, but maybe 5, 6 of us can make it a random Wednesday night or a Sunday afternoon. So generally speaking, we try to play every other Saturday to just keep sharp. And you know, with Worlds coming up now, we'll probably be meeting up a little bit more on one of the off days. And generally, it's at first, you know, hey, you got something in your mind? Let's play it. Play it against what I'm coming up with. If we like it, we talk about it. We share ideas. Hey, this could be better. And you know, why are you running that entity instead of this one, etc. And once we got a solidified, once any one of us, you know, solidified it, that's when we start throwing things that we might expect to see how it stands up. And that's pretty much how the process works. We're very open. We share almost everything with each other. Just that way we could just help each other even more.
Absolutely. Now, speaking, I know you brought up Jason, and as a member of your team, his team was a little bit more unique in its sense. He used a starter set Captain America along with a Banshee as his main attack force, and a lot of people are really interested in finding out where he came up with that. If you have that kind of information to share.
You would have to talk to him to get exactly how he came up with that. I just remember we have a live chat on Facebook that it's always active. We're always, whether it's Heroclix or just making fun of each other, we're always there. And he just threw it up one day. He's like, hey, I want to play the Cap, Banshee, Split Lip book. And I'm like, all right. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't be able to work. You know, what entities? He just kept on working on it. And, you know, he play tested it. I can't really say I play tested against it, but he play tested against the other members and to some success. He brought it to U.S. Nationals. He brought it to Canada. He got top 16 in the U.S., top 8 in Canada.
Yeah.
I don't have any more information beyond that, though, to be honest with you. You might have to have him on and ask him yourself.
I may have to hunt him down. Thinking of starting to do a team chat where I start pulling out teams, the Heroclix players. So that seems to be a growing trend is everybody's practicing with friends and they're all coming together as teams, kind of like how Magic the Gathering has their teams and Versus System had a lot of teams of note. And a lot of us are starting to actually recognize team names now. Do you feel like that trend came from the fact that the Majestics guys all kind of work together, or do you think it's just it's a natural progression of a competitive game?
It's just maybe a little bit of both. I think it's more about the natural progression of the game. Last year was the first year I think that WizKids promoted team play for Team Worlds. So, you know, and they allowed you to come up with your own name. So, you know, instead of saying, hey, Patrick and Kevin and Justin and saying those 3 names over and over again, it's just simpler to say, hey, Team Majestics or Apex Predators or 4 Points Gaming.
Yeah.
It's just easier and it just sticks.
Yeah.
You know, people will know, hey, I know who the people are. I know what you're talking about. It's just easier. It's just easier to say.
Absolutely. Excellent. All right. So I want to move on to another question. This one's from Rich Allen. With the Age of Ultron set out, do you see any of those figures entering the meta and making appearances in future big events?
Well, we already saw the starter Cap. You know, he kind of works. His trait is kind of silly. 6 range close combat attacks.
When you said he used it with the Book of Skulls, I immediately thought of a 6-square Quake, and I just got scared.
Yeah, and especially when he's a giant, so that way nothing really blocks his line of fire, really. So
yeah.
Anything from the Age of Ultron set, I'm sure those traits are ridiculous in some of those gravity feed figures.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a Hawkeye or even a Hulk's not Hulk's pretty expensive, but one of the less expensive Hulks just running wild and just dealing free damage out when you hit someone. Yeah. Nick Fury could easily be on any of those teams just to make it say, hey, you pick this. No, I want you to pick this instead. So I could tell, 45-point great support piece too. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw any of those in the upcoming tournaments. Age of Ultron was a pretty solid movie set.
Yeah. Absolutely, it was a really interesting set. And there was a lot of cool stuff coming out of it. All All right, so next up we have McConnell Lamar. I hope I didn't mess up his name there. What were you most fearful of when you decided to play the same team at Canadian Nationals?
Losing. It's funny. I always bring extra teams with me. I really planned another team that I'm 85, 80, 90% sure that I was going to run if I qualified the second day. But since I used the Duke team to qualify in the first place, and I just, not to, disrespect my opponents, saw how easy it was. And I guess how much more, you said it best actually, how much more comfortable I was with it.
Yep.
I just ended up sticking with it. So I mean, yeah, I know the counters to the team. I know what beats it. I know what has the best chance of beating it. I'm always afraid of facing those, but at the end of the day, you sit down at the table and you got to beat the guy across from you.
Okay. So next up, Andrew Wood. I was wondering. I think we've actually discussed this, but Andrew Wood here was wondering what you thought your team's weaknesses were, and if you hadn't played that team, did you have another one in mind? Do you want to talk about the other team you had in mind, or is that kind of you're still holding that in your pocket, possibly for Worlds?
I am still holding that in my pocket. I can, I guess I can share some character names from different teams that I'm running. I don't know if people, would like that, or maybe they'll just be like, "Oh, you're not sharing anything."
Well, I mean, I'll help you with that one. Is if you share too much in this game, especially when you got a target on your back like Kenny has, people will build to counter build you, and then it affects their own game, but it'll also affect Kenny's game. So,
but
not sharing, there's a reason for that in this game.
My counter argument to that, though, is I'm only one player. There's going to be a lot of other players out there too. So, I do have a few other teams. I'll keep it a secret for now. Sorry, guys.
Okay. No worries. Believe me when I say I'm not offended.
Yeah.
I understand the need for secret tech because sometimes your things are so off the wall, but there is one really easy to get counter to it that you don't want people to all of a sudden start playing because nobody's been playing it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players out there. Trust me, the Gloop team is there's ways around it. It's just those ways around it might not do well against other teams. So it's rock paper scissors.
Yeah, I hear that. And actually Joshua Lucas also asked, do you think you're now going to need a different team for Worlds, or are you, and as we discussed, he's got some ideas, but we're going to go on to that. He's going to hold that close to the chest. We have Chris Stockhouse here. He's asking, what is your favorite modern age map?
Okay. My favorite modern age map is the amusement park from the No Man's Land set.
Yes, it's one of my favorites too.
I love that map.
There will be combat, I like to call it.
A 6x6 starting area is just ridiculous. And there's so many ways just to utilize that map to its fullest advantage.
It's a map I like to look at and say, you're not hiding from me. Oh,
nope.
No. Not today. Now he goes on to ask, do you prefer the ROC map rules where you bring 3 maps to complement your team, or the Whiz Kids just, bring a sack of maps and play whatever?
I really don't have a preference. I really did enjoy the last 2 years, though, the map menu that they had. I know they're not doing it this year.
Yeah.
I know 2 years ago it was just like, hey, this is the map menu, which was pretty much 10 two-sided maps, 20 map selections. Right. Now it's just like everyone's a cartographer and bringing in all their schematics. It's just a bag of maps, and it's fair. It's hard to plan against, but it's also one of those things where you can literally pull out any map for any situation if you see the smallest inkling that this map might be more advantage to you against a certain team. So yeah,
all that is making sense to me. Myself, to help with Chris's question there, I myself only actually had 3 or 4 maps that I thought were really beneficial to the team that I played a lot on day one, and then my soul got crushed with a couple games. But I brought those maps specifically because if I was going to run dice roll, they were going to be the maps I played.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need the full menu of maps because generally you have your own choice of maps, I found. So unless your team can play with every single map, and then you're just going to counter pick a map against your opponent. That's really the only reason I can see to bring more than 3 or 4. Unless you disagree with me there, Kenny.
No, I agree with you. I actually brought a lot of different maps. My team, as silly as it sounds, it doesn't look very mobile, but it's actually very mobile. And I can get around a lot of different terrain. So I actually did bring many different maps. And unfortunately, my team's not themed. I didn't win map roll all that often, so it didn't really come into play. But my final match in Canada, that was a perfect opportunity to bring that particular map. I saw what he was doing before. A lot of hindering terrain, stops the blocking terrain. I have little ditches to hide in there. Phantom X can only do so much with Eva. And, you know, I never used that map before with that team. And I was like, this is going to be the perfect time to bring it up.
Now, I wasn't there and I didn't get a chance to catch it live. What map did you choose for the final game?
Post-Cataclysm, Robinson Park from No Man's Land.
Yeah, okay. All right. I've got that map in my head now. That's the kind of like the garden-like map, right?
Yeah, the Poison Ivy map, pretty much. So there's just a lot of terrain everywhere. Absolutely.
It was a good map when it first came out. It had imagery of Krakoa. Like, you know, if I looked at that map really hard, I often mistake it for Krakoa, but
yeah, it's similar to Krakoa and the Garden. The Garden was a very popular map back in Infinity Gauntlet. So yeah, it like I said, it came in handy.
Absolutely. So that seems to be all the questions we've collected so far, but I do want to carry on to a little bit of a different line of questioning. For players who are newer to competitive play, do you have any advice as a champion yourself that you'd like to offer to people?
Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This game can be brutal sometimes to learn. This game can be brutal when you do everything right and DICE hates you. But it's such a rewarding experience when you get through all the rules lawyering and things start working out in your favor. You know, people might disagree with me. I think the game's in a great state right now where, you know, you got 9 entities and all these different resources, and you can literally almost play any figure you want to some success. I know people will disagree with that, but that's my opinion. And it's just stick with it. Just like anything in life, there's always going to be a learning curve. You're going to stumble. You're going to mess up a rule, or there'll be a ruling that makes no sense. And unfortunately, those do exist. And just keep at it, because once it all clicks and figures out, it's a great feeling to play a game and not have to call someone over every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or check this or check that. And you just walk away, even if you lose. Like if you did everything right and you're just like, you know, I played my best. It's just a rewarding experience.
Absolutely. Now, I do have a question, from an experience that myself and Amber got to experience at the tournament, and both of us played against different builds of a combination of Felix, Faust, and Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you had a chance to play against this, but I don't know. Yeah. I also don't know if you've ever been a spectator at a game that you were playing. Do you feel like this is going to be something that shows up a lot come Worlds?
Yes, I do. And it's hard to explain. I have gone up against that team, and they're, you know, I can literally say for 4 straight turns I did nothing. And that's great. That's what it's supposed to do. I think it's what's supposed to do. Either way, it's effective. My issue with it is it's random, because once you don't hit the rolls and you get things you don't need, Faust is very easy to take down. Strange, not so much, but he's expensive. He's 150 points.
Yeah.
But yes, there's definitely going to be those players who bring it, you know, and hope for the best. Those are the kind of teams that, you know, they turtle. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's a legitimate strategy. And are looking for the, you know, 50 to 20 point win or something like that. And if you're doing a cumulative entry to get into a tournament, it can help you because you'll get 4-0 with low points. It could also hurt you because one bad loss, all of a sudden your 3-1 record with 200 points isn't exactly shining.
Right.
But there will, you know, players are crazy, and good for them, because you'll definitely see those too.
Yep. And like I said, I've already seen it. Amber saw it under the camera when she was playing her Brainiac ship, and I got to see it with my police team on day 1. So be warned, it exists.
Mm-hmm.
And it not only does it stop. I found not only does it stop the game, it's got the potential to explode if you pull that yellow power with the Faust.
Yeah, the yellow. Yeah, it's gross. And if you hit that 5 and 6 with Faust, you could just keep it. And it's happened. I have played with it around here locally, where he was on that power for 3 straight turns.
Yeah. and that's just a series of 3 damage attacks coming at your entire team.
It all adds up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe that's about all I got for you today.
All right.
So, is there any shout outs you want to throw out to your stores, to anybody in the game? Now's the time.
Yeah. Shout out to my team, Team Pusheen. You guys are great. You guys keep me sharp, and I hope I do the same to you guys. I feel like we're about 8 or 10 of us will be going to Worlds this year, so we'll have 3 full teams at the Team Worlds. And I hope we do great individually. I will shout out to my store, Highlander Games and Comics. I mentioned it before. And shout out, to those guys in Ohio, Derek, Tim, Nick, Patricia, all of them. We had some plans to go to Canada that kind of fell through with someone else, and they were nice enough to let us crash with them. So definitely give those guys a shout out. They were very nice. And, we had a lot of fun just brainstorming, talking, shooting the breeze and all that stuff. And thanks, and shout out to you, Heroclix. I'm about to meet all you guys. Very nice people. Everyone up there was just pleasant. It was fun.
For that.
It was fun. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. So thank you, Kenny, for joining us. We appreciate having you. Appreciate you sharing your experiences with us.
Anytime.
Yeah, and for those of you watching live, thank you for joining us. I know it's an early afternoon show, but we try to work again with our guests' schedules, guys. And don't forget, tomorrow, being Monday, 9 p.m., as usual, we'll have the Meta Lab. I'll have my crew on to talk some more about the game. And don't forget, guys, as always, practice makes your team better.